My wife cheated on me with our neighbor, and now she's claiming she's entitled to half of my $750, $0 inheritance, even though she signed a prenup, and she's threatening to take everything, including our home worth $550, $0, over a lie about a secret $200, $0 property she asked me to hide from her when I found out she was cheating. Hello, everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video, using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here telling a story about how my wife, Sarah, turned out to be nothing more than a lying, cheating bitch. But here I am, and honestly it's like my life has become a bad soap opera I can't turn off. The most shocking part, I caught her with our neighbor, Mark, in our house, no less. And that wasn't even the worst. The real kicker was how she's now trying to claim she's entitled to half my inheritance, despite signing a prenup, and she's threatening to take everything I own, our house, my savings, everything, over some stupid lie about hiding a property from her. This whole mess started about 6 months ago. Things had been rocky for a while, little arguments here and there, her being bitchy for no reason, snapping at me over small stuff. I chalked it up to stress, maybe work or whatever. But then I started noticing things that didn't add up. She was acting distant, secretive even, which was totally unlike her. She'd leave her phone lying around, then suddenly lock it when I'd come near. I'd catch her deleting messages and hiding her social media activity. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but something felt off. One night, I came home early from a business trip and saw her car outside. My heart started pounding because she wasn't supposed to be back yet. I decided to surprise her, so I quietly entered the house. That's when I saw her and Mark, the neighbor, in our bedroom, tangled up in each other. They didn't see me at first, but I saw enough. Her shirt was half off and Mark's hand was under her skirt. I froze, my mind racing. The betrayal hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't believe the woman I married, the woman I trusted with everything, was screwing our neighbor on our own bed. I wanted to scream, to confront her then and there, but I held back. Instead, I backed out quietly and went straight to my office. I needed to think, to process what I'd just seen. It was surreal. I felt a mix of anger, disgust, and heartbreak. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face for months? I'd always been honest with her, worked hard for our future, and now I was just a fool who got played. The next day I confronted her. I told her I knew. Her face twisted into that bitchy smirk she always wears when she's trying to lie her way out of something. She said I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that Mark was just a friend helping her with some project. Yeah, right. She insisted she loved me, that I was overreacting, and that I was just jealous. She threw in a few tears, saying I was hurting her feelings and that I was crazy for accusing her of cheating. But I wasn't buying it. I saw her in the act. There was no denying it anymore. What really angered me was her attitude afterward. She started acting like she was the victim, like I was the one who screwed up. She called me insecure, said I was controlling. Meanwhile, she was out there screwing our neighbor, our supposed good friend, while I was at work trying to build a future for us. I felt sick. My trust, everything I believed in, had been shattered. I never thought I'd be that guy who'd catch his wife cheating, but there it was, clear as day. The woman I loved, the woman I thought loved me, was screwing around behind my back. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything in my head. The betrayal, her lies, her bitchy attitude when I called her out. I felt stupid for trusting her, for thinking we had a real marriage. And then the rage set in. I decided I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I needed a plan, not just to get her out of my house, but to make her pay for the pain she caused me. I was going to expose her, take back what's mine, and make sure she understood she was nothing more than a lying, manipulative cheat who thought she could walk all over me. That's when I remembered the inheritance. I've got about $750, $0 coming to me soon. My parents left it to me in their will. I also own a house worth around $550, $0. Sarah signed a prenup before we got married, claiming she wouldn't get a dime of my inheritance or the house if we separated. But now she's trying to threaten me with legal action, saying she entitled to half of everything because of some dumb lie about a property I supposedly hid from her. It's infuriating. She's twisting everything to her advantage, trying to paint herself as the victim when she's the one who cheated, lied, and betrayed everything we had. I've been researching, gathering evidence. I've got her on her own voice recordings, her texts with Mark, and proof that she's been lying about the property. I even hired a private investigator to dig into her financials. She's been sneaking around, trying to hide assets, and I want her to pay for it all. She's already threatening to take everything, our home, my inheritance, even my savings over this lie. But I'm not going down without a fight. I've got legal advice and I'm ready to protect what's mine. Honestly, I've never felt so betrayed, so furious in my life. It's like everything I believed about her was a lie. I trusted her, loved her, and now I see her for what she really is, a manipulative, selfish woman who only cares about herself. I don't know how I'm going to move past this, but I know I won't let her win. Not without a fight. After I discovered her affair with Mark, everything changed in an instant. I mean, I knew she'd been acting weird, distant, bitchy, snapping at me over nothing. But I never thought she'd actually do something so disgusting in our own bed. That moment in the bedroom, catching her with him, it was like my entire world shattered. I felt numb, like I was standing outside my own body. All the trust I'd built up over the years just evaporated in that second. I remember standing there, staring at her and Mark, my fists clenched, my mind racing. I wanted to scream, to yell, to do something that would make her feel as small as she made me feel, but I didn't. Instead, I quietly backed out of the room, my head pounding with anger and betrayal. I left her there with her hand on Mark's shoulder, feigning innocence. Yeah, right. She was the one who'd been sneaking around behind my back for months, lying to my face, pretending everything was fine. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything I saw, every detail burned into my brain. I felt sick, like I'd been punched in the stomach. How could she do this? How could the woman I loved, the woman I thought loved me, be screwing our neighbor in our bed? It left a nasty taste in my mouth, and I started to question everything. Was our entire marriage just a lie? Had she ever loved me? Or was I just some fool she used to get what she wanted? The next morning, I decided I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I sat her down in the living room, trying to stay calm, but my voice was shaking. I told her I knew what she did. Her face twisted into that familiar smirk, like she thought she could manipulate her way out of this. She started denying everything, saying Mark was just a friend helping her with some stupid project. She told me I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that I was insecure. She even had the nerve to cry, claiming I was hurting her feelings and that I was overreacting. That's when I lost it. I told her I saw her in the act, that I wasn't stupid, and that I'd seen enough. Her excuses didn't hold water. I could see right through her lies. She kept insisting she loved me, that I was the reason she was so stressed lately, but I wasn't buying it. I knew she'd been lying, sneaking around, and I'd caught her in the act. It was like a punch to the gut. Everything I thought I knew about her was a lie. She started throwing a fit, saying I was controlling, that I was jealous and insecure. That bitch was trying to turn the tables and make herself look like the victim. Meanwhile, she was the one cheating behind my back, screwing our neighbor, our supposed friend, and lying about it all. I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd always been honest, worked hard, tried to give her a good life. And now I find out she's been playing me for a fool, all while pretending to love me. What really pushed me over the edge was her attitude after I confronted her. She acted like I was the bad guy, like I was the one causing all the problems. She started accusing me of being paranoid, controlling, and she even said I was overreacting because I was jealous. Yeah, jealous of her screwing Mark, jealous of her lying to my face. It was infuriating. I wanted to shake her, tell her how disgusting she was, but I held back. Instead, I just told her I was done with the lies, done with her bullshit. That was the moment I decided I wouldn't let her get away with it. I needed a plan. I remembered I had an inheritance coming, about $750, $0, left to me by my parents. I also owned a house worth around $550, $0. She signed a prenup before we married, clearly stating she wouldn't get a dime of my inheritance or the house if we split. But now she's trying to claim she's entitled to half of everything, even over a stupid lie about a property I supposedly hid from her. That lie was her latest attempt to manipulate her way into my assets. I started gathering evidence immediately. I hired a private investigator to look into her financials and her recent activities. I've got her on voice recordings, her texts with Mark, and proof that she's been lying about the property. I even found out she's been sneaking around, trying to hide assets, which could be a breach of the prenup. It's clear she's been planning to take everything I have, my house, my inheritance, my savings, over some fabricated story about a property I supposedly kept from her. Honestly, I'm furious. Not just because she cheated, but because she's trying to manipulate the system to get what she wants. She thinks she can threaten me into giving her half of everything, just because she's entitled to it in her mind. But I'm not stupid. I've consulted lawyers and I know my rights. She's not getting a dime of my inheritance unless a court says so, and I plan to fight her all the way. The worst part, I still love her, or at least I did. It's hard to admit that now after everything she's done. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I could have been so blind. I thought our marriage was solid, that we were in it together. Turns out I was just another fool for trusting her. Now I feel like I've lost everything, my trust, my peace of mind, and maybe even my sense of self. But one thing for sure, I won't let her walk away with my money or my house. Not without a fight. After I gathered enough evidence and made the decision to stand my ground, I knew I had to act fast. Sarah was already starting her little game of manipulation, claiming she was entitled to half my inheritance and threatening to take everything. Our house, my savings, everything I worked so hard for. She kept insisting that I was hiding some secret property she never knew about, and that's why she deserved a share of it all. That lie about the property was her latest move to try and squeeze every penny she could out of me. I sat her down again, this time with my lawyer. On speakerphone, her bitchy attitude was on full display, arms crossed, eyes rolling, and that condescending smirk like she was already winning. She started her usual spiel about how she deserved half because we were married, and that I was just a selfish bastard trying to keep her from her rightful share. She said she'd sue me for everything, including the house, claiming I'd been secretive about the property I supposedly hid from her. The truth is, I'd never hidden anything. I was just trying to protect what was mine from her greed. My lawyer explained to her that the prenup was airtight, that she signed it voluntarily, and that she had no legal claim to my inheritance or the house if we separated. She sneered and said it was unfair, that I was trying to cheat her out of what she was entitled to, and that she'd take me to court if she had to. I could see her trying to manipulate the situation, twisting the facts and playing the victim. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I was prepared to fight her in court if I had to. What really set me off was her claim that I'd been hiding a property worth $200, $0. She kept insisting I'd secretly bought it, and that I'd been keeping it from her because I was guilty or ashamed. I told her flat out that her accusations were bullshit. The property was in my name, yes, but I'd kept it quiet because I knew she'd flip out and try to use it against me. It was a backup plan, a safety net, in case she ever decided to screw me over. I never intended to hide it from her, but I knew she'd spin everything to make herself look like a victim. The more I tried to explain, the more she threw tantrums. She called me a controlling bastard, said I was secretive, and accused me of cheating her out of her fair share. That's when I finally lost my patience. I told her she was a manipulative bitch who thought she could lie, cheat, and steal her way into my life and assets. I warned her that if she kept pushing, I'd take legal action to protect what's mine. I even told her I'd be going after her for fraud if she kept lying about assets or trying to steal from me. Her response: she started crying, fake tears streaming down her face, claiming I was breaking up the family and that I was hurtful for wanting to protect myself. She said she just wanted to work things out and that I was being unreasonable. Yeah, right. She's the one who cheated, lied, and now pretends to be the victim. It's typical Sarah, bitchy, manipulative, and always playing the victim when she's the one who screwed up. I stayed calm, even though inside I was boiling with rage. I told her she wasn't getting a dime of my inheritance, that I'd see her in court if she tried to take what's mine. I also made it clear that I knew about her and Mark, and that I had recordings and proof to back it all up. That shut her up for a while. She realized I wasn't bluffing, and her attitude shifted from bitchy and manipulative to desperate and angry. She kept insisting she was entitled to half, that she'd fight me for everything, and that she'd ruin me if she had to. That night I made a decision. I was going to fight her in court if necessary. I wasn't going to let her walk away with my house or my inheritance just because she threw a fit and lied her way through. I'd made up my mind. She'd never get a penny more than what's legally hers, and I'd expose her for the lying, cheating manipulator she truly was. I was also planning to confront her about her affair with Mark in front of the lawyer. I wanted her to know I had all the evidence, and that she couldn't twist her way out of this one. In the meantime, I started to reach out to the right professionals: lawyers, private investigators, financial advisors. I knew I needed to be prepared for whatever she threw at me next, because I could tell she was already planning her next move. More lies, more manipulation, maybe even trying to turn our friends and family against me. But I wasn't going to let her ruin me. I'd fought for everything I had, and I was ready to fight for my future. The stakes had never been higher, and I was determined to come out on top. The more I dug into her financials and the evidence I had gathered, the clearer it became how deep her lies went. She's always been good at pretending to be the sweet, bitchy wife, but behind that mask, she's nothing but a manipulative, entitled woman who thinks she can just take whatever she wants. The claim about the hidden property was her latest stunt, but I had proof: bank statements, her texts, even a record of her asking me to hide that property from her. She thought she could just spin her way out of this mess, but I had her dead to rights. That's when I decided I needed to go all in. I hired a lawyer who specializes in family law and asset protection. We drafted a plan to counter her threats, and I instructed him to prepare for a legal battle. I also contacted the private investigator again to find out if she'd been secretly transferring assets or making plans to hide money. Turns out she'd been trying to open new bank accounts under fake names, trying to keep her assets hidden from me and the court. Meanwhile, Sarah's attitude shifted from bitchy and manipulative to downright hostile. She started calling me names, accusing me of trying to control her, lying about everything and not trusting her. She even accused me of cheating, which was laughable considering I just caught her in bed with Mark. But she's good at twisting everything to make herself look like the victim. She's also been spreading rumors among our friends that I'm crazy and controlling, trying to paint me as the villain. The more she lied, the more my anger grew. One night, she had a complete meltdown. She yelled at me about how I was ruining her life, how she deserved half of everything, and that I was just a greedy bastard. She even said she'd go to the media if I tried to stop her from claiming her rights. That's when I realized she'd crossed a line. She was so desperate to get her hands on my money that she was willing to destroy whatever was left of our marriage and reputation. I knew I had to act quickly before she did something irreversible. I sat her down and told her flat out that I was done playing her game. I showed her the evidence. I had the recordings, the bank statements, her texts. I told her I'd be filing for divorce, and I'd be fighting her in court to keep what's legally mine. I warned her that if she kept lying or trying to manipulate the system, I'd also be suing her for fraud and breach of trust. I made it clear I wasn't going to let her steal my inheritance or my house over some fabricated story about hiding property. Her face turned red with rage, and she spat back that I was trying to cheat her out of her rightful share. She insisted she'd fight me to the end, claiming she was entitled to half of everything because she was my wife. I told her she was just a liar and a user, that I'd never let her take my house or my money just because she was feeling entitled or angry. I also warned her that I had enough evidence to prove her lies in court, and I was ready to go all the way if she insisted on playing hardball. That night, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief because I finally had a plan and I was standing up for myself. Dread because I knew this was only the beginning of a long, ugly fight. Sarah wasn't going down without a fight, and I could see her trying to rally her little army of friends and family to support her claims. But I was prepared. I knew I had the truth, the evidence, and the law on my side. The game was on. I also started reaching out to a forensic accountant to track her financial activities more closely. I needed to know if she'd been transferring assets or hiding money in offshore accounts. I wanted to make sure I had every possible piece of evidence to dismantle her claims if she tried to haul me into court. The more I uncovered, the more I realized how calculated her moves had been. She's not just a wife who cheated, she's a woman willing to lie, manipulate, and threaten to get what she wants. I'm not gonna lie, this whole thing has been draining. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation where I'd have to fight tooth and nail just to keep what's mine. But I also know I can't let her win. I've always believed in justice, and I'm determined to protect what I've worked so hard for. I don't care if she calls me a monster, a cheater, or whatever else she tries to throw at me. The truth is, I've been betrayed and now I'm fighting to reclaim my life. This isn't just about money anymore, it's about respect, integrity, and making sure she doesn't get away with ruining me over her lies and greed. The legal process has been a whirlwind. Once I had all my evidence in place, including recordings, bank statements, her texts, and the proof of her attempts to hide assets, my lawyer filed the necessary motions to block her claims on the inheritance and the house. I knew she'd try to drag this out, use her bitchy charm and false tears to sway the court, but I was ready. I had everything documented, everything to prove she was lying and trying to manipulate the system. Her reaction was classic Sarah. She went from bitchy to downright hostile. She started accusing me of trying to control her, lying about everything, and cheating her out of her rights. She claimed I was hiding the property she knew nothing about and that I was just a greedy bastard trying to keep her from her rightful share. She's good at spinning stories. She even tried to claim that I'd been unfaithful, that I was the one sneaking around. The irony wasn't lost on me. I just looked at her and knew her game. She's been lying her ass off from the start. Meanwhile, I kept gathering more evidence. I hired a forensic accountant to dig deeper into her finances. Turns out she'd been secretly transferring money into offshore accounts, trying to hide her assets from me. She's been planning this for months, I'm sure of it. Every time she accused me of hiding things, it was her trying to cover her tracks. I found bank transfers, fake accounts, even a few suspicious payments to consultants she never mentioned before. I also hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her. Turns out she's been visiting her sister more often, making secret calls, and even meeting with a lawyer behind my back. She's been planning to take everything she can get, and she thought she could just lie and manipulate her way through the legal system. But I had enough proof to shut that down. I presented everything in court, her lies, her attempts to hide assets, her affair with Mark, and her false claims about the property. The judge was straightforward. She reviewed the evidence, listened to both sides, and made it clear that Sarah's claims were without merit. The court confirmed that the prenup was valid, that I was entitled to my inheritance, and that the house was legally mine. The judge also ordered Sarah to pay court costs and warned her about making false claims in the future. That was a huge win for me, and I felt a flood of relief. For once, I knew I had done everything right and the law was on my side. But Sarah didn't give up easily. She kept trying to spin her lies, claiming I was trying to cheat her, and even accused me of destroying her life. She's so used to manipulating people that she can't accept losing. She's threatening to appeal, to drag this out longer, even trying to rally her friends and family to support her false claims. But I'm prepared for that. I've got my legal team ready, and I've told them to be aggressive. I want this over, and I want her out of my life for good. What's really frustrating is how she's still playing the victim, crying about how unfair everything is. She's trying to make everyone believe she's innocent, that I'm the bad guy. But I see through her now. I see her for what she really is, a manipulative, bitchy woman who thought she could cheat, lie, and steal her way into a better life. She underestimated me, and now she's paying the price. The court has spoken, and I've protected what's mine. Now I have to figure out how to move on. This whole ordeal has taken a huge toll on me emotionally and financially. I've been drained, exhausted, but also relieved that I finally stood up for myself. I know she'll probably keep trying to come back with more lies, more manipulations, but I won't let her. I have to rebuild my trust in people, rebuild my life, and learn to move past this betrayal. I've learned that some people will always be selfish and entitled, and that you can't trust everyone, especially not a wife who's willing to lie, cheat, and manipulate her way into your assets. The biggest lesson I've taken away from all this: never ignore the signs, never assume someone's loyalty is guaranteed, and never let anyone, no matter how much you love them, take advantage of your trust or your hard work. Because at the end of the day, your own integrity and your assets are all you really have. And I refuse to let her steal that from me, even if it means fighting her every step of the way. Now that I've finally put everything behind me, at least legally, I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. I used to think trust was the foundation of any relationship, but now I see that sometimes people are just out for themselves, no matter how much you want to believe in the best. I've learned that no matter how much you love someone, you have to protect yourself. You can't just assume everything will be fine, especially when there's money and betrayal involved. The emotional blow was brutal. I felt betrayed on every level, by her, by our marriage, by the person I thought I knew. But I also learned a lot about myself. I learned I'm stronger than I thought, that I can stand up and fight for what's mine, that I don't have to accept manipulation, lies, or betrayal, and that sometimes the best thing you can do is cut your losses, get legal protection, and move on. Looking back, I regret trusting her as much as I did, but I also know I'll never let anyone manipulate me like that again. I've gone through the worst, and I came out the other side with my assets intact and my dignity a little bit more intact, too. I've started rebuilding my life, focusing on myself, my work, and my future. I've learned that true strength isn't about how much money you have or how big your house is. It's about knowing your worth and standing up for it. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, I'll say this: don't ignore the signs. If your gut tells you something's wrong, listen to it. Protect your assets, document everything, and don't be afraid to fight for what's yours. Because at the end of the day, you're the only one who truly has your back. Trust is earned, not given freely, and betrayal cuts deep, but you can survive it. You can come out stronger. And as for Sarah, I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for, though I doubt it's happiness or integrity. I've learned that some people are just wired differently. They'll lie, cheat, and manipulate until they get what they want. But I've also learned that I don't have to be part of that game anymore. I'm done with her, and I'm moving on to a better, more honest life. The past will always be a part of me, but I refuse to let it define me. I'm finally free from her lies, her manipulations, and her betrayal. And that's all I really need to start over.